All right, so what I'm going to look at here is this chart right here. Let me go ahead and blow that up a bit. We're going to be looking at this chart here, these groups of charts. A couple of things we want to remember whenever we look at charts or whenever we look at graphs or maps. The first thing we always want to do is read the title. For example, this chart I can see says military strength. Military meaning like army, soldiers. So when I look at this chart, I also want to double check after I read the title. The next step is to check the key. So I've read the title. I see that this one says population. This one says military strength. Next thing I want to do is look at the key. I want to see what the colors and things are telling me. So this tells me some important information down here. It says north and south. North is blue, south is red. So as I look at this, I should kind of start to see, just by looking at those colors, maybe you can tell me without even looking at anything else, which side has an advantage, which side looks like they're in a better position to start the war. Hopefully you can see, it looks like here the blue, the blue, the blue, the blue, the blue. I mean, look at this advantage that they have here. Be above the red here. The red is down at this level and the blue is way up here. So kind of identifying some of these key pieces and what do those advantages mean. Now, a couple of the things that we can see here is that this one is nice because it tells us first, what is the thing we're measuring? This is your naval ship tonnage. Now, naval ships are like the boats that the Army uses. Okay? So would you want a lot of boats to use if there's a war? Absolutely. This one's nice because it also even tells us what is the difference. Well, this is a 25-1. That means 25 times whatever the South has. They have a 25 times advantage. Iron production. This is iron right here. Look at that advantage of 15-1. 15-1 advantage. Imagine if you had $1 and I had 15, and every dollar you gained, I gained 15 more, right? So that's the kind of advantage that they have. It's a huge advantage. You can buy like a drink, and I can go out and I can buy shoes or something else with my money. Now, in this case, we're talking about iron production, not money, but think about that difference in iron. Now, what do we use iron for? Well, some of the ships we have, some of the weapons that we have. The other thing it says is firearms production. Now, firearms are very important. These are firearms, guns. Would you want a lot of firearms if you're going to fight a war? I'll let you think about that question. The next thing we have is population. What kinds of people do we have? So here it says, what's the total population? Think about this. This is in terms of millions. So this would be 20 million people. 20 million people. How many does the South have? The North has 20 million. How many does the South have? The next thing we have is eligible for the military. That means you can join the military. Hopefully we know right now, we're talking about 18 years old, you can usually join the military. Back then it was a little different, probably more like 16, probably 14 and 15 for some of these kids. And usually the oldest you can get is probably about 40 years old, and then you're too old to fight generally, unless you're a general or a leader. But usually when you get older, it's just you can't really go fight. So now the South, look at, has 1 million, just above 1 million people who are able to fight in the military. How many does the North have? Again, I'll let you think about that question. The next thing we have is industrial workers. Now, industry is this, factories. Now, think about this. There are less than 1 million factories in the South. In the North, there are more than 1 million factories in the South, in the North, excuse me. So again, think about that. Would you want more or fewer factories? If you're going to fight a war, think about all the things you need. Ships and guns and boats and bullets and all of those things. So this is kind of how we interpret this graph. Again, don't forget, read the title, check the key, and then start looking at the information and trying to figure out what it means, because it tells a really interesting story.